Free. Probably felt it before. Plans get cancelled. And instead of disappointment, something unexpected happens. You feel relief. A quiet wave of calm moves through your chest. The pressure disappears. Suddenly, the evening feels lighter. And then, almost immediately, another feeling creeps in. Guilt. You wonder if something might be wrong with you. After all, most people are supposed to enjoy being around others, right? But what if that sense of relief isn't laziness or antisocial behavior or some hidden flaw in your personality? What if it's actually your nervous system telling you something important? Because there is a growing body of research suggesting that the way some people experience social interaction is fundamentally different. And if you've ever felt more like yourself in quiet spaces than crowded rooms, there's a reason for that. Think about how often being alone is treated like a problem. Someone eats at a restaurant by themselves, and people feel bad for them. Someone spends a weekend at home, and friends immediately ask if everything is okay. Somewhere along the way, society quietly built a rule that being alone must mean something is wrong. That you're lonely, or anxious, or depressed. But very rarely does anyone consider another possibility, that the person simply prefers solitude. Modern culture is heavily built around extroversion. Networking events, group vacations, constant messaging, nearly every system rewards visibility and interaction. And because of that, people who naturally enjoy quiet environments often grow up believing they need to fix themselves. They say yes to invitations even when they're tired. They show up to gatherings feeling slightly disconnected. And over time, this creates a strange kind of exhaustion that many people never fully understand. But there may be a deeper biological explanation. In the 1990s, psychologist Elaine Aron began studying a trait known as high sensitivity. Her research suggested that roughly 15 to 20% of people have nervous systems that process emotional and sensory information more deeply than average. This doesn't mean they're weaker or overly emotional. It simply means their brains are doing more processing during everyday experiences. Think of it like running multiple apps on a computer at the same time. For many people, a casual conversation is just that. But for someone with deeper processing, the brain may also be analyzing tone of voice, facial expressions, group dynamics, and subtle shifts in energy. All of that happens automatically. And while this can lead to stronger empathy and insight, it also means social interaction can consume more mental energy. So when someone like this returns home after a long day, they often feel drained in a way that others might not understand. They don't just need sleep. They need quiet. They need stillness. But here's where the misunderstanding usually begins. They interpret their exhaustion as a personal flaw, when, in reality, it may simply be how their brain manages energy. Imagine someone in their late 20s. They have friends, a job, and a normal social life. But every time a group event appears on their calendar, something inside them tightens slightly. Still, they go. They attend the dinners, the trips, the parties. And afterward, they come home feeling strangely depleted. Not upset, just empty. A quiet question begins to appear in their mind. Why does socializing seem to cost me more energy than it costs other people? Many people spend years ignoring that question. They become experts at performing enthusiasm. They smile when their internal battery is empty. They answer messages when they actually need silence. This constant performance can slowly create a feeling that something about their life is slightly misaligned. But here's the part most people never hear. Solitude, when chosen intentionally, may actually restore something that constant social engagement cannot. Research has found something surprising about people who choose to spend time alone. When they return to social environments, they often had an improved mood and stronger emotional clarity. In other words, being alone wasn't harming their social lives. It was strengthening them. Solitude allows something that rarely happens in busy environments: mental processing. When the noise fades away, the mind finally has space to sort through experiences. Thoughts that were buried begin to surface. Emotions that were ignored start making sense. One of the quiet advantages of solitude is that it creates distance from social pressure. When we're constantly surrounded by others, our thoughts naturally start aligning with the group. But when someone spends time alone, they have conversations with themselves. They question their own beliefs. They examine ideas without immediate influence. This process builds what psychologists call cognitive independence. People who regularly reflect alone often develop a clearer sense of what they actually think, too. However, there's an important line to recognize. Solitude can restore energy, but it can also become a hiding place. Restorative solitude feels calming. You step away from the world and return feeling centered. Retreat feels different. At first, it brings relief, but that slowly fades into a flatter feeling of disconnection. A helpful question to ask is simple. After spending time alone, do you feel more like yourself or less? If solitude leaves you feeling clearer and calmer, it's likely serving a healthy purpose. But if it slowly pulls you further away from life, it may be worth examining what you're avoiding. The people who navigate this balance best tend to move between two states. They go inward for clarity, then they return outward for connection. Solitude becomes a place where they restore energy, organize their thoughts, and reconnect with themselves. And when they re-enter social environments, they show up more fully, more present, more authentic. Because they aren't running on empty. In many ways, this rhythm mirrors breathing. You inhale, then you exhale. Both are necessary. Social connection nourishes us, but solitude allows us to process that connection. 2. And in a world that constantly demands our attention, choosing moments of quiet reflection might be one of the most valuable habits a person can develop. Which brings us back to that strange feeling of relief when plans fall through. Because that moment might just be your own mind, telling you exactly what you need. Thanks for watching.